During the Vietnam War, women played various roles and faced different challenges and opportunities in the war-torn country. They were active as soldiers, nurses, journalists, activists, spies, workers, refugees, and more. They also experienced violence, abuse, and trauma. The Vietnam War was a long and bloody conflict that lasted from 1955 to 1975, involving the communist North Vietnam and its allies, the Viet Cong, against the anti-communist South Vietnam and its allies, mainly the United States. The war resulted in millions of deaths, injuries, and displacement, as well as widespread environmental damage and social upheaval. One of the first things that we need to understand is that women in the Vietnam War were not a homogeneous group. They came from different backgrounds, regions, ethnicities, religions, and political affiliations. They had different motivations, goals, and perspectives on the war. Let's start with the women who fought in the war. According to some estimates, there were several million Vietnamese women who served in the military during the war. Some of these women joined the war voluntarily, motivated by patriotism, ideology, or personal reasons. Some of them were coerced or conscripted by their families or communities. Some of them were victims of violence or poverty who saw no other option. These women faced many hardships and dangers in the war. They had to endure harsh conditions such as hunger, thirst, disease, injury, fatigue, and exposure to Agent Orange, a toxic herbicide used by the US military to destroy crops and forests. They also had to cope with fear, stress, grief, guilt, and loneliness. They had to deal with sexism and discrimination from their male comrades and superiors. Many of these women were killed or wounded in action. Some of them were captured or defected to the other side. Some of them survived but suffered from physical and psychological scars for the rest of their lives. On the other side of the conflict, there were also women who served in the South Vietnamese Army or Allied forces, such as the US military. These women were mostly nurses who provided medical care to wounded soldiers or civilians. Some of them also worked as air traffic controllers, intelligence officers, clerks, or other positions. These women also faced many challenges and risks in their service. They had to work long hours under stressful and dangerous conditions. They had to witness horrific scenes of death and suffering. Another group of women who played a significant role in the Vietnam War were civilian women who worked in various sectors of society during the war. These women included farmers, factory workers, teachers, students, journalists, entertainers, and more. These women contributed to the war effort and the economy in different ways. These women also faced different opportunities and challenges during the war. Some of them benefited from the war by gaining income, education, or independence. Some women suffered from the war by losing property, family, or security. Some survived the war and continued on with their lives and careers. One of the most tragic and controversial aspects of women's experiences in the Vietnam War was sexual violence and exploitation. Women on both sides of the war were vulnerable to rape, assault, or abuse by soldiers, militias, or civilians. Women were also forced or coerced into prostitution, sex slavery, or sexual barter for survival or protection. Sexual violence and exploitation had devastating impacts on women's physical and mental health, as well as their social and economic status. Many women suffered from injuries, infections, pregnancies, abortions, or infertility as a result of sexual violence or exploitation. Sexual violence and exploitation were often ignored, denied, or justified by the perpetrators, authorities, or society. Many women didn't report or even seek help for sexual violence or exploitation due to fear or lack of resources. Sexual violence and exploitation were also used as weapons of war by some parties to terrorize, humiliate, or demoralize their enemies. It was also influenced by racial and gender stereotypes that dehumanized or objectified women of different ethnicities or nationalities. Sexual violence and exploitation remain a sensitive and unresolved issue for many women who survived the Vietnam War. Many women still suffer from the physical and psychological effects of sexual violence or exploitation. many women still seek recognition or support for their experiences of sexual violence or exploitation. Thank you all for watching this video with us, and don't forget to leave a comment down below and let us know what your thoughts are about this topic. See you next time, and bye for now.